Hello, this is Sun Conjunct with the astrology of the full moon in Gemini. This is occurring December 11th through 12th, depending on where in the world you are, but it's overnight, going from the 11th to the 12th. And I think it's, let's see, 9, 10. It's from Wednesday to Thursday. Okay. I appear live every week or every 2 weeks, especially with the full and new moon eclipses, lunations. But I also write a blog, an astrology blog. It's Satsangat Astrology at blogpost.com. It's a Google blog post. I'm sorry. And I write it more often, and it's usually more detailed and extensive. If you happen to like reading best, then if you have time, they're usually not too long. But this could be a supplement to the readings. I do also. You can follow me daily on Facebook and Tumblr. I post transits every day. They are just essential tools. So for the full moon in Gemini, it's a full moon of information and making sense of information. So I hope you are paying attention, which is essential for this full moon. So Gemini is the sign of the twins. So it's usually more than one. So, and also, let me plug it because it's kind of low in battery. Usually, it's the gatherer of information without discrimination. So, in the house of Gemini, you will be gathering information regardless of the importance. You will have a wealth of information, pieces of information that you accumulate. So data and learning new things, gather knowledge. And the sun is in Sagittarius, which is finding the truth and making sense of the information, putting the information into the big picture or the whole world perspective. So this full moon is a full moon that requires us to understand the meaning of the information that we are receiving. It's not just learning things just for learning, but we need to make sense of it and put it into perspective and seeing how what's the role of that information and what does it mean for the whole thing. So it's using both the left brain Gemini and the right brain Sagittarius in order to acquire some discernment and understanding the significance of the information that is put out or that we are learning. So just a second, I'm going to close this door so there's more light. The axis Sun Moon makes T square with Neptune and Pisces. So the three of them are mutable signs, which means that it requires some flexibility to adapt to new ideas and also to use some different ways to look at the information. So not being just too focused on our own ideas or our own opinions, but use discernment to adjust accordingly, right? And Neptune in the sign of Pisces, especially when it's square, the sun in this case, but this square is also activating the square that Jupiter made to Neptune the whole year, right? If you remember, Jupiter Neptune square 3 times this year, and there was if you remember in your life, you can remember what issue and what area of your life were you confused, something that you really didn't know. Is this real? This is not real. What is going on? So something that you were not really sure what was happening, and something that you didn't fully understand, and that it seemed to be real, but it was also seemed to be your imagination, and sometimes it was very hard to discern intuition. So the Sun square Neptune is now reviewing and activating that same square. Maybe this is the time when you find the answer to your confusion, right? Maybe now you understand what was the real truth about that issue. So you need to look at your chart and see what houses are occupied by Gemini, Sagittarius, and Pisces. So Pisces, also Neptune and Pisces, is challenging us to look deeper into the information, the data, or whatever you're learning, to find the spiritual meaning of it and to find the truth in the context of the general truth, and especially if it is something about the public life. For example, right now, people are trying to understand what's going on in the political area, the political arena, I would say. If you are focusing on the public sphere, you may find the meaning of the truth in the context of the collective unconsciousness, or something that you may get a discernment about what is good for everybody, right? So at the same time, the sun and the moon squaring Neptune may get you confused, may cloud your mind, and again, as I said, it may reactivate the confusion and even the deception that was originated by the Jupiter-Neptune square. And it could be about yourself, or about who you are, or the role that you play in the reality, or what is the meaning of your reality. It could be doubts about your self identity because of the sun, right? or your self concept, what you thought about yourself, that can be confusing now. So it could be something confusing about the spiritual reality of your identity. And for example, some people may think of themselves of with an inflated ego. Other people may think, oh, I am worth nothing, and those are extremes to which this square can induce. So also, the moon squaring Neptune, this is an over emotional state of mind, I would say, because of Gemini on the other side. And it could be, we could become over emotional about what we learn, or the ideas that are the ideas or the data that are coming to us. Because those concepts may shake us, and also we may be led. For example, if you become over emotional, if you've been angry, for example, you know what I mean. When you are angry or you have a very emotional state, it's very hard to think right. It's very hard to make sense of things and what's happening. So this could be over emotional, and you may have a hard time to make sense or make a discernment about what's really being said, or what is the truth, the ultimate truth. So and you need to also be careful and try to delay. If you have to make important decisions, it's better to wait. I would say maybe for 2 weeks until the new moon, or even after the next full moon, or by next full moon, because you can be misled and deceived. So make sure that if you need to make a decision anyways, because it's something that can't wait, then try to be objective and to take the information in a dispassionate way. So make sure that you are not overwhelmed by emotions when you take decisions. Because, as I said, you may be misled, deceived, and you can even deceive yourself. So analyze and use logic, but at the same time, deep in your heart, you may intuitively come to understand the truth in a way that you can't explain logically. So those are at play. Both the right and the left brain are at play in this full moon. So it is a challenge to find balance between logical thinking and intuitive thinking. So there are other aspects. Any opposition like the sun and the moon always plays out in relationships. For example, you may be very intuitive about something, and your partner or the other person may be very logical. So there is a need to find a balance in order to understand each other. And on the contrary, you can be very logical and the other person very intuitive. So you are in different pages. And in order to understand each other, you need to come to the middle, or find a common ground. So that's how it can play in a relationship. And also the possibility of being confused or even deceived is there because of Neptune and Pisces. So now, There is a great conjunction with Pallas Athena, and it's about 4 degrees orb, means that there is 4 degrees of separation. If you remember, the new moon was also conjunct Pallas Athena. Now she has moved almost the same pace as the sun, a little bit slower. And I explained, if you haven't read my new moon report on the blog or seen my video, you can read or watch the video. And I talked about Pallas Athena being the female warrior for justice, fairness, balance, and agreements, right? I'm going to read, let me see. I'm going to read here the notes that I wrote. Pallas Athena is the daughter of Zeus, or Jupiter. So she was born from his head. Therefore, she carries her father's vision, wisdom, and sense of justice, ethics, and natural law. She represents the critical thinking process that uses logical skills, strategy, discernment, and courage. So, conjunct with the sun in this full moon, Pallas Athena helps us to see patterns in the broader perspective, look for repeated themes, and use those small pieces of information as pieces of a wider puzzle that we can put together to find the significance of it all. So she unites our right and left brain, which is very helpful in this lunation, helping us to make sense of what we learn. So even though she fights for justice, she searches for the truth before making judgments. So uses her intelligence to avoid violence and war and conflict. But if necessary, she wouldn't shy away from going to war, even to defend truth and righteousness if necessary. So Pallas Athena in Sagittarius is that's an excellent diplomat. So she's able to see the big picture. She uses her creative intelligence to make wise political compromises and advises those in power who apparently need a lot of advice these days. She helps us to make difficult decisions in relationships and can bring spiritual and mental healing. So this is about the conjunction, then Pallas Athena with the sun. So let me take a look at the chart here. Let's see. Here it is. So I recently, yesterday, in fact, I made a video about Jupiter in Capricorn. I hope you have time to watch it. But I'm going to explain something about it now that I didn't even mention in additional information. I didn't mention it in that video. Sometimes there is too much information and it goes too long, and I don't want to be doing long videos that people don't watch because it's too long. Anyways, Jupiter entering Capricorn is about to join the south node of the moon in Capricorn. And what this means is that for example, there could be troubles in justice, in legal dealings. For example, when you have a suit or a legal proceeding, there might be conflicts and problems because the south node of the moon is Ketu, right? Is the the tail of the dragon that is excreting and is letting go and is diminishing also the power of Jupiter, the optimism of Jupiter, the justice, the fairness, and this is adding some more energy. I would say to the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, which is at the moment of the full moon, is sandwiching Venus. So Jupiter with the south node is also problems. For example, if you belong to a religious organization or you have religious ideas, or you have a certain ideology, or you believe in a certain philosophy, you may have to change, or you may want to let go of those, or not all of it, but I mean, sometimes you need to let go of things that don't work for you anymore. With the south node in conjunction with Jupiter, so that's another factor. Another thing that can be affected is long distance travel. So if you are to take a long distance travel, you may find some hindrances or some obstacles, or you may have to give it up completely because of this Jupiter South Node conjunction. Okay. I'm looking at the chart. Okay, so what else? So legal proceedings, travel, religious spirituality. You may need to let go of some beliefs. You may also have. You may also have to let go of cultural beliefs, some cultural beliefs that are not serving you anymore. Hopefully, people who have racism understand that they are not conducive to good things, so they may want to let go of those. That's one of the positive things, I think. But maybe you have some cultural ideas from your own culture that you may understand now that they're not good for you. So you may also let those go. Another thing about Jupiter joining the south node of the moon is that even though the conjunction is not exact yet, it will be soon. Especially in this period, during the period of the eclipses, December 26th and January 10th. So it might be a time where Jupiter's enthusiasm and optimism may go down the drain because of some changes, in society or political. I wanted to talk about this sandwich of Venus between Saturn and Pluto. Venus is in the global sphere, is the planet that represents values, monetary, financial values, resources, and it could represent banking, and also our our spiritual values or practical values, and also it represents what we are attracted to, what we desire. So between Pluto and Saturn, it means that Pluto is transforming those in a very powerful way and a very intense way. Remember, Pluto is the lord of wealth and riches in the world. So Pluto is the lord of the resources, and especially the underground resources or the hidden secret resources of people. So Pluto may be transforming those. And Saturn is coming behind, restructuring the economic structures or the economic institutions and the financial institutions of the world. So there is something going on, probably behind the scenes, that we don't know about. A new distribution of wealth and resources and financial values that will affect the whole world. And this is already announced many times. I did announce it before, and other astrologers have been talking about this for already 2 or 3 years. So something is going on, and within the political powers and political institutions of the governments, not only in the US, but in other countries as well. I've heard about inflation, devaluation of currencies in other countries. Here, I've been shopping, some shopping for Christmas presents, and also regular grocery shopping, and I have seen increases in prices. So you may have experienced that also, which means that there is inflation somehow. I think that pretty soon we will publicly learn news. Gemini, right? Full moon in Gemini is the culmination and the maximum light on those. So we may find information about financial changes that we didn't know before. Okay, I talked about that. Okay, Jupiter is just separating from the square to Jupiter in Capricorn. Yeah, is separating from the square to Chiron. So I encourage you to read my blog about Chiron activation in December. And also I wrote about this square, Jupiter Chiron, in my dailies on Facebook and Tumblr. But in summary, it means that we are finding a spiritual meaning of our woundedness. And I wanted to point out that in the global sphere, Chiron in Aries is related to this, to cultural identity, ethnic identities, or any kind of identities of people. And we've seen how people are suffering because, migrations, Jupiter, that are being also Jupiter South Node restricting migrations And this is also restricting the acceptance of different cultures, different identities in the world. So this is promoting xenophobia. And Chiron in Aries is the representing the suffering of people from discrimination, from racism and xenophobia. And the migrations due to wars and conflicts, violent conflicts, will probably increase, not because people want to leave their homes and countries willingly, right? But people are forced to leave their places of living because of violence, because they are at risk of losing their lives. So, and they can only find restrictions on their travels and migration and suffering from it. So this is a very sad situation that is not only at the border of the Rio Grande, right, but in different countries also. We've seen that in Africa, and there's violence and wars there because of different ethnicities, and it's also aggravated in Europe with refugees from the war zone, especially in Syria, but other places as well. So this is kind of something that will continue for the whole year of 2020, and it will have to be faced, and we, as a collective, will have to find answers and solutions for that, because it's going to be prevalent for the next 5 years at least. Especially if the wars continue, especially if other wars arise. Which we don't want to predict, but let me tell you some other aspect that is very slowly forming, and is about the square between Pluto and Eris. Eris is a dwarf planet that it was discovered in 2005, and Eris is the goddess of discord and conflict and war. I wrote also about Aries. I think it was one of the previous lunations blog posts that I posted on my blog. If you have the chance to read about Aries, it's a very interesting archetype. She was snubbed by Chiron, who didn't invite her to the feast and party of the gods and goddesses. So she got mad, and she brought a golden apple that later was the apple of the discord, and she brought it to the party and said, offered it to the fairest, but she didn't say who the fairest was. So that provoked the Trojan War. There was a fight between Aphrodite, Helen, and Hera. So they were fighting who is the fairest. Anyways, so from that archetype, Aries was the sister of Ares, Ares, which is Mars. So both of them are warriors. They are Aries in Aries, Aries in Aries, in the sign of Aries, which is the sign of Mars, right? So not only is she a warrior goddess, but she is in the sign of the warrior Mars. So, and she is squaring Pluto. This is a square. I was listening to an astrologer called Daniel Feverson, and he wrote a book about Aries, and he was doing a video explaining of this square. He said that this square hasn't happened. In fact, Aries will square Saturn and then Pluto, exactly, but it is already in orb, so meaning that it's close. And these squares the square to Saturn hasn't happened for 500 years, and the square to Pluto for more than 2,500 years. Because Eris is a dwarf planet whose orbit is 500 years, and she spends 120 years in this sign of Aries. So you can imagine that those squares are not very often, as I said. So this astrologer has studied the previous squares, and they were conflicts. She promotes war. What else can I tell you? And we have already started hearing news of wars. I was listening to the news yesterday about Iran, and one of the representatives said that they wouldn't initiate an attack, but if Israel attacks them, they will respond very noticeable. So let's cross our fingers that nobody starts anything. But there is this potential because the tension is there. The square is already promoting the tension and the aggressiveness. So again, let's meditate. Let's promote peace in our own lives, in our own inner self, and let's promote peace among the people that we have contact with. So let's live ourselves in peace, contributing to the peace of the world, so those conflicts don't escalate. So if you have a conflict with someone, try to solve it in a peaceful way. So as I said, this full moons always increase the emotional intensity. So hopefully you stay peaceful. Hopefully you can digest the information in a way that is beneficial to you. One of the things that with a T-square, let's see, you have Gemini, Sagittarius, and Pisces, right? So it's like having a table with 3 legs. But if you find and you use the 4th leg, which is Virgo, right? Everything that you have in Virgo, you can activate that, and that way you can balance the T-square, right? So that's another way to work with these energies. So look at the house of Virgo in your chart, and look at the planets and the influences that you have there, and try to use them in order to solve this T-square conflict or tension, right? Oppositions create tension that requires balance or rebalance, and squares create tension that makes us change directions or change something. But if you use the opposite, it's Virgo energy, then it will be easier to rebalance the whole thing. Okay, I hope this report is useful to you, and practice meditation, any technique that you have learned, or if you haven't learned how to meditate, just investigate and find a way of meditating. I also have my Kundalini Yoga channel, and I have several meditations like long breathing meditation and other kinds that you can explore in order to find peace in yourself, and especially not only peace but love for yourself, love for humanity in general. So make sure that you live in peace, live in love and light, and you promote the peace also. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you follow me. Please like, comment, share the video, and I hope to see you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.